Welcome back to the Garden Hutch. Today we discuss week 33 of 2022. Let's get going. Well, week 33 in a word, awesome. It's actually starting to feel like a normal summer here where we're getting, highs in the low to mid 90s. The evening times, they're in the upper 60s, low 70s. So that's fantastic, right? Because of that, a lot of our vegetables are starting to set fruit again, which is fantastic. Blooms everywhere. So, I went back through and I started thinking about all the effort we put into saving things. So it does feel like it was worth doing that. I would also say week 33 has been the most pleasant week since probably the last week of May. I went back and started looking at a few things, and we got more rain last week than we did in the entire months of June and July. So there's that. As I mentioned, this past week I started wondering if it was worth it to go ahead and save everything. And as I said, yes, it was. We're still able to eat every day. We're eating a lot of Swiss chard right now as our, salad when we go through to make a salad or do greens or whatever. And it's working out really well. We've got some fresh ones started for the smaller tender leaves, and we still have the chard that we started in the spring. We're still getting tomatoes. Our cherry tomatoes are doing really well. We'll take a look at that here in a minute. So I guess what I'm saying is we're able to do a salad. That's a big goal for us, right? Every day we want a fresh raw salad from the yard. And we've been able to do it every day since the early spring. So that's fantastic. We're going to push it as long as we can with the fall gardens coming into this month. It's getting really exciting as far as that part of it is concerned. So let's take a look real fast. Speaking of, was it worth it? Let's take a look at the Pallet garden here from last week to this week. So many of you know that we put our corn in a little later in the year, and we've had a lot more success with it than we have in the past. The few less pests this time of year. Now, I'm not sure if it got stunted or anything because of the stupid drought and insane heat that we had in the middle of the summer. But overall, the corn itself looks like it's responding well. We did have, I'll show you here, we had some wind come through and it snapped the whole top right off of this guy, but that came with the storms and such, so we're thankful for the water, and we didn't get it too bad here on the homestead compared to some. So any of you folks out there that are dealing with flash floods and that sort of thing, our thoughts go out to you folks. So as we mentioned, a lot of the things that we saved, the melons, the peppers, tomatoes, they're really doing well. So you can see here, we haven't got a cantaloupe in about 10 days now, so we have several that are getting ready to come off. But I was just thinking about that when I looked at this. There are several cantaloupe on here. Our chickens did get 2 that were hanging on the outside of them. We'll talk about the chickens more here in a bit, but anyway, they did jump up, and it was funny. Like, you jump in from the top of it, it looked like a whole melon, and then you grab it and all it was just the skin hanging there. The chickens, I guess, had jumped up and ate it from the bottom up, so it was kind of funny. We are picking a huge amount of bell peppers. I said last week, and I want to keep going into it, we had a whole basket of fist-sized bell peppers. Like, this is about half the size that the bigger ones were, so we're leaving these on there to get bigger. And you can see in there's a few more large bell peppers, but these guys have really taken off since the temperatures have sort of come to more of a decent, I guess is a good word for it, since they've come to more of a decent temperature and it's not burning and scorching everything. So peppers do like the heat, but they don't want it like over 100, and the heat index sometimes was over 110 for several weeks in a row. But anyway, everything is starting to, look at those, everything's starting to work out really well. I went through and I've got a recipe I'll probably put next year when I grow these, that I'll probably show on the channel. But I went through and I canned, or pickled, I guess is the right term, but I did it on like a pickling kettle as opposed to the fermenting that we use for the cucumbers. Again, when we tried the fermenting process with these, all of these peppers turned bitter, and it was really unfortunate. But nonetheless, we live and you learn. So, but the new process that we're using is absolutely delicious. All right, so over here, you can see these are a little hard to see until they start turning red, but there are cayenne peppers all over the place. And then in here, if you get in there, you can see, it's kind of funny though, because when I come out here to look for the red cayennes, if I look from this side, I always get confused because I can see the chard underneath of it when you look from the right angle. So anyway, but as you can see, the cayenne peppers are killing it right now. We're picking them and putting them right in the vinegar, and I'm eating it just about as fast as it can cure in there. So that's going to be a good sign going forward. So you can see this is the more mature chard. So we'll use, you know, a couple leaves of this as the base for a salad. It doesn't get near as tough as the kale did as the year went along. So next year, of course, we'll have this in its own bed. We grew the chard here thinking this whole bed would be nothing but chard and kale, but we had forgotten that we had promised my uncle we would grow cayenne. So I stuck them in here thinking the cayennes, you know, wouldn't be all that big, and well, that just simply didn't work out for me, did it? They're massive cayenne plants and lots of peppers on them, so that's good. They serve their purpose. And this is, you know, we were talking about the smaller chard that we use as the baby leaves. So we'll take 2 of the large ones and, you know, 2 or 3 of these guys here. They're just a bit more tender, and it adds a nice texture dichotomy to your salads and such. So, and then over here, we had some rain, so you can see I got to get out here and a little bit of blight, but I sprayed it, and the last time took care of a lot of it. But what I wanted to show you here is, again, I know it looked like from before that I had murdered my plant, but if you look up here, we're starting to get these massive blooms, and you can see, I'll find the ones that have started to set here. So because of that, because we did take those, you know, as we call it, we took the canopy out. You know, again, all it's doing now is just sort of putting on new blooms, is putting on new foliage to make a whole new canopy. And this one will be more accurate for this time of year. The one before was in the middle of the summer. Now that we're on the other side of the solstice, it's time for it to make, you know, the sun is going to start going further south here in 7B. So it'll make sure that, you know, the canopy as it grows has maximum sun, and will also offer a lot of protection to the soil. But again, as you can see here, okay, so now let's move on and talk a little bit about our fall garden and what is going to happen here on the homestead for the next couple weeks. You know, week 34, 35, week 35 puts us into September. So week 34 is going to be important for us to prep to get ready for our fall gardens. So let's go take a look. Our fall gardens are going to go here in the top garden behind us. Oscar, are you hiding in there, buddy? He likes to hide in these little beds, and then he'll jump up at you whenever you walk by. All right, so anyway, what we're looking at down here, this is a 2.5 by 22 foot bed. This is going to be for our carrots, and in the spring and in the fall, we're going to put carrots in this bed. It's all that's going to go here, and it'll sit through the summertime and through the deep winter and rest. But as I mentioned several times, whenever we started growing carrots successfully, that easily became, like, I call it the most social vegetable. And the reason for that is people, for whatever reason, love to pull carrots. We also enjoy it. It's very cathartic in some odd fashion, but nonetheless, we enjoyed it. So we decided to make a bigger area for that. We also saved a bit of freezer space for the winter time for some extra carrots. So our freezer space is getting really, really tight. So the only thing we really have room for are a few beets, because I'm going to try to freeze beets and see how they do. And I want to blanch and freeze some carrots. But other than that, we do have the compost, and we're going to put the compost in here. I wanted to do a video on on preparing our fall beds last week, but I didn't get around to that. And the sole reason for that, of course, was the rain. We couldn't get in here with the compost. So what we did was we opened the gates and let the chickens through, and they loved scratching around in a new area. What it does is whenever you allow that, it just, you know, goes through and they naturally scratch the soil up and mix in the straw that was left over from the summer beds. So anyway, so this week what we'll do is we'll go through and we'll add specific amendments depending on what's being planted where. We'll fill this up, and then we'll fill the rest of these beds up. So that'll be a fun thing to look forward to. The final thing I wanted to discuss from week 33 are the chickens. Now, our chickens finally all started laying, and it is ridiculous. We're getting between 13 and 15 eggs each and every day. So that's filling the refrigerator up a lot. So what we've been able to do is we've been able to give away a few of them. And as we said from the beginning, all we really need to do is find somebody who wants to buy 2 dozen eggs a week. And that actually pays for the food for our chickens. So, you know, it's a good trade-off all in all. So as an overall experience, the chickens have been a success, I believe. So if you've made it to this point of the video, I would like to say thank you. We always appreciate that. If you enjoyed the content, consider giving it a like. If you enjoy our channel, or you like homesteading or gardening or chickens or any of those things, consider subscribing to the channel. It goes a long way in helping us reach our goals. Until next time, I hope that all you folks take care of yourselves. Peace.